Welcome back, everybody. It's time for another thrilling edition of Silver and Black today, an Odyssey Sports original podcast covering the Las Vegas Raiders. We appreciate you guys being with us a day late usually, or this week, right? We usually go on Thursday. I had some issues at the house. We had some storms out here, and so Mo and I had to move it to Friday. So we hope to send you into your weekend with some great Raiders talk. Scalco Branson, along with my partner Mo Moten, Mo's senior NFL writer at Bleacher Report. You can follow him on X, which I recommend that you do. And if you don't, I'm going to come down and hunt you down. He is at Mo Moten, Moemoton. You can also catch him Monday through Wednesday at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern on Bleacher Report Live. He'll talk about that later in the show, but he talks Raiders there too. So you can check out the BR creators over there and spend some time with Mo talking Monday through Wednesday as well. So make sure you do that. Again, I'm Scott. Follow me too on X. Love having conversations, and I've had some interesting ones in the past few days, which I'll get into. I am at LV Gully. The show, by the way, is SNB Today. Do us a favor. Make sure you subscribe wherever you get your audio. Just look for Silver and Black Today. Make sure you do that and put on that auto download. That helps us out significantly. If you're watching us on YouTube or wherever you're watching us, make sure you subscribe, hit that notifications bell. We certainly appreciate it. And drop those comments down below. We always appreciate them. All right, Mo, here we are. Guess what? The Raiders not only traded for Geno Smith, but we knew that was part of the deal was, hey, they're going to give him an extension. So yesterday, Geno Smith signed a 2-year, $85.5 million extension with $66.5 million of that guaranteed. And that works out to, in my view, my friend, and I want to hear this because I can't believe some people were decrying this opportunity in this deal for the Raiders. This is about $37.5 million, a little bit, with some incentives, a little bit more than that per year, which puts Geno Smith down around 16-ish or lower as far as average salary from a quarterback perspective, less than Derek Carr, less than some other guys out there. And I'm just shocked that some people don't think this is a great deal. This is an awesome deal for the Raiders, not only with the player, because I think Geno Smith's going to do great with the Raiders and Pete Carroll, but also from a cap perspective, even if they don't keep Geno Smith for all 3 years, because he's got this year and then 2 years on the extension, Mo, they can get out of that deal without a big dead cap hit. Please tell me if you see any downsides to this deal.
There are from a Raiders perspective, this is as fair as a deal as you can get for a starting quarterback. So a month ago, I had a series of posts. Scott, I was Nostradamus for a bit. And I said, when the headline numbers come out, there will be people who freak out over Geno Smith's contract. And I said, but just keep in mind, with any big contract, always look at the guaranteed money because that is ultimately what the player is going to make. Because how many players actually finish out the length of their contract before they're cut, get a restructured deal, or traded, what have you? Most players don't finish their deal anyway. So the headline numbers mean very little. Look at the guaranteed money. Now, I looked over at Michael Giannetti, who runs Spot Rack, and he said that Geno Smith's contract annually, average annual salary, AAV, comes out to 17th. In guaranteed money, it comes out to 17th. In my series of posts, I said Geno Smith is going to get mid-range starting quarterback money. 17th would constitute as mid-range starting quarterback money. Most of the top quarterbacks are making $50 million plus a year. Even the high-end guys in the high 40s. Geno Smith is not even in that range. He's not even in that realm. So for what they signed Geno Smith for, this is an excellent deal for the Raiders. I don't see the gripe in what they're paying him. This is the only thing, Scott, really quick. The only people I feel like are griping about this deal are people who didn't want Geno Smith in the first place and call him a bum. Those are the only people crying about the deal, because if you're saying, okay, the Raiders have now a starting quarterback at this price rate, you're thinking, wow, that's a good deal. Now we have our guy for the foreseeable future. We'll see what the draft comes. We'll talk about that. But for the money that they signed up for, this is more than a fair deal.
Not only that, but you look at a couple. I mean, it was hysterical. I even jumped into some conversations that were general, not necessarily Raiders fans, like, oh, that's terrible. He's mid quarterback. I'm like, he's got mid money. Like what?
Mid-money.
To your point, it's mid-money.
Right.
What are you talking about? Well, he's not even a top 10 quarterback. Yeah, he's not getting paid as a top 10 quarterback.
Exactly.
Number two here is, please, Raider Nation, educate me, okay? Because I could be wrong, but I'm going to come in with a little hot take. What the hell have you had at quarterback for the last 30 years, right? So Geno Smith, to me, gives the Raiders the best quarterback they've had. Now, you could argue the Derek Carr stuff, and you could argue Geno Smith hasn't won. But the thing about Geno Smith, and we haven't gone a lot into Geno Smith's game, which we'll do as we go through the summer and get towards the draft here as well. But Mo, here's a guy who finished top 3 in accuracy in the league. Okay, I understand he didn't win. He didn't get to the playoffs and go to the Super Bowl. I got that. That's the goal. But as far as a quarterback goes, especially a guy that you're looking at a 3-year window until you get a young quarterback to develop into that next guy, I can't believe that some people are disappointed in this, because I look at what? Aiden O'Connell? Come on. We like Aiden here. Good kid, good backup quarterback. Nothing against him. But are you kidding me? He's nowhere near as accurate. Geno Smith has accuracy. He has the arm strength. So I'm just a little bit confused on what Raider Nation thinks they got versus what they actually have.
But and I know you said he didn't win, as far as the playoffs are concerned, Seattle, what have you, a wild card loss. But let's look at the context. Geno Smith as a starter in 3 years in Seattle, his team went 9-8, 9-8, 10-7. Typically, if you go 10-7, you're a playoff team. But it just so happened that that NFC North division, you look at Minnesota being a surprise team, the Bears and Detroit being what they are. It was a tough conference to get in the playoffs. If you told me that the Raiders were going to win 10 games with Geno Smith this upcoming season, would you not take that? Would you not take a 10-win season after what you went through last year, more than doubling your win total? I know he's got a different supporting cast here, but you're telling me Geno Smith as a starter, and I don't see wins and losses as a quarterback stat, because, you have to have a team, a defense, coaching, all that matters. But Geno Smith's team in Seattle, while he was a starter, no losing records. As I said, I'll repeat again, 9-8, 9-8, 10-7. And typically when you win 10 games, Scott, you are a playoff team. Just didn't work out that way. But if you look at his numbers, get away from the win-loss stat, look at his numbers, look at his production. As a starter, you can see he got the Jets stink off of him. And he's a pretty good starting quarterback if you watch it.
Yes. Now, a lot of people, and Mo, I keep what we call receipts, right? When people say things. But the difference is, I don't go out. I'm not trying to embarrass anybody. I don't look for social media arguments to prove that I'm brilliant, which I'm not, clearly. But, I don't do that. But I do save them, and I refer back to them. And I did see in numerous occasions a lot of these same people talking about Geno Smith, he's not the guy who's going to take us to the Super Bowl. Look, they had winning records, but he didn't win in this playoffs. Well, these are the same people defending Derek Carr, saying he didn't have a team. So, roosters come home to roost. Chickens come home to roost. Excuse me. So, to that point, I'm just flummoxed by this. Like, I just think that the Raiders are this offseason. Look, things can look really good, right, until you get on the field. So nobody's winning in the NFL in the offseason, right? There's great things that you do. But if you look at what the Raiders have done, if you look what John Spytek has done, it's pretty good. The signs are very, very, very encouraging because of this deal. They go out, they get Geno Smith, and you're going to hear a clip from him in a minute where he talks about they also looked at other quarterbacks. He wasn't the only one, but they eventually came back to Geno Smith. And it worked out for them because I am sure they talked in advance of the deal happening. They gave up a 3rd-round draft pick. It's not like they gave up a 6th or a 7th here, Mo. They gave up some good draft capital for him. So that shows you there is a commitment there. Also, Pete Carroll, familiar with this quarterback, very close relationship. This is going to be a really good piece for this Raider offense with its new coordinator, Chip Kelly, and the new pieces it's going to have after the draft. So to me, I just don't see, unless you're just a negative person and you're looking for your misery every morning when you wake up, I don't see any downsides to this Geno Smith deal or to them committing to Geno Smith for right now.
I'm going to step on the grenade, Scott. I'm going to do it here. I know I'm going to regret this after I go here, but I'm going to step on the grenade anyway. I honestly believe that there are people still salty over the Derek Carr situation, that they're not willing to accept a new quarterback until that quarterback shows them that they can win football games. Which is fair because you have to go out there and prove it, right? It's one thing to look at the numbers and look at what he did here, look at what he did there. Show us, prove it that you are a winning quarterback. But I do honestly believe that the Derek Carr sting is still there for some people, and the way things ended there went so sour that people are still like, we should have never moved on from Derek Carr. I'm telling you, Scott, there are people out there who still believe Derek Carr should be the starting quarterback with the Raiders,
Wow.
and they're not going to accept a new quarterback until he wins football games, particularly in the playoffs.
I don't doubt. Nothing surprises me anymore, my friend. And so I can see it, and I see a lot of people defending that. That's why, hence, I keep receipts, but I don't try to embarrass you. I'm not out there to make people look foolish. Every once in a while, you got to, because people, just can be crazy. But I don't do it very often, just because I just don't believe in doing it. I'm not trying to bring to the world more negativity. So there you go. But I do want to get into now some clips down at the team meetings down in Florida this week. Pete Carroll spent some time with the media, and I want to share some of this because he talked about Geno Smith. And again, I'm not here saying Geno Smith's perfect, because he's not. No quarterback is, but he's a damn good quarterback and the best quarterback the Raiders have had in a long, long time. So they asked Pete Carroll about Geno Smith and the process of getting him and what he's going to mean to this team. Here's what Coach Carroll had to say.
How does getting...
Oh, sorry, wrong clip. Here we go.
Yeah, well, getting Geno was a really important part of this puzzle, putting it together. And we've had really a rich background, and it's really important to me because I know what we can count on. We have a guy that's such a great worker. He's grown so much through his career, been through so much and overcome so much. I love the way he approaches the game. He's serious. He's competitive. Works his tail off. And he's a great leader in that regard. He leads the guys by the way he takes to the game. And man, he's talented. Really talented. And so I think the Geno story it's worth mentioning. The guy sat for almost 6 years. And in that time, one, he didn't get the wear and the tear, so that's why he moves so well. He runs really well still. But he took to the game in a manner that was really very impressive. He was able to, one day after another, take it like the very next play I'm playing. And I watched him for the 4 straight years when he wasn't playing, just never missed that opportunity to be focused in that manner. I mean, it was just ridiculously impressive, So anyway, when he finally played, look what he's done. He's had 3 winning seasons, and he's a tremendous completion guy. He's durable. He's tough. So we're really, really fortunate to have him.
You saw him as a backup for, like you said, a few years. Did you ever feel like he was content just being that, or was he?
No, that's what I'm telling you. No, I'm telling you. It came through from early on that he was going to approach it with the thought that he is going to play the next play. He's playing behind Russ, and Russ was in the middle of his career and doing great. And he realized what the situation was, but he never bought into it, never gave into it. And that's what's so important.
So there you go. I mean, yeah, of course you expect Pete Carroll to say words, but so much in that answer. Of course, our good buddy Vinny at the end there asking a follow up. But this is a Raider. Like, to me, this is like Rich Gannon, right? Rich Gannon was on a shelf and kind of bounced around the league and had some good years, obviously in Kansas City before he signed but he was not the starter. So he learned, he matured, he got there. He was a great leader, which is what helped that Raiders team almost should have gone to probably another Super Bowl, of course, if not for the Tuck game. And then, of course, in 2002. So to me, this is the perfect story. And also, I'm going to get your comments, Mo, on the fact that having Pete Carroll and having Geno Smith, having worked together in the past, being on the same page, knowing each other so well, it can't be understated how big of a deal that'll be for this offense coming into this season with a whole new regime there.
Right. So you're you're expecting that Pete Carroll knows how to get Geno Smith going. You expect he knows how to get the best out of Geno Smith based on their time in Seattle and what they did in that, I would say, short period, because Pete Carroll was there long before Geno. But Pete Carroll said all the things that I've said on this show. He's sat for quite some time, so he doesn't have the same wear and tear as a normal 34-year-old quarterback. Watch Geno Smith run with the football over the last 2 years.
He's spry.
Doesn't look like a guy who's been banged up. He was a backup for more than half of his career after what happened with the Jets. He was much younger then with a dysfunctional organization, and then he got an opportunity with a stable organization. You saw what he can do. And again, for the people out there who say, well, Geno Smith, I don't know, still paid him too much money for 3 years of production. And I would say, I mean, how long has Baker Mayfield, been a quality starter?
Good point.
He's getting about the same amount of money as Baker Mayfield. He's getting about the same amount of money as Sam Darnold, who only has one quality season under his belt. So if you compare that, would you rather have Sam Darnold, who has one quality season under his belt, making around the same, mid-range starter quarterback money, or Geno Smith, who's had 3 quality seasons consecutively? Now, I get the numbers weren't great last year. 21 touchdown passes, 15 receptions. But again, the Seattle Seahawks won 10 games with him. And he was 2022 Comeback Player of the Year, back-to-back Pro Bowl seasons. So there's a lot to like there. Geno Smith is not an all-pro quarterback. Absolutely not. He is not one of the top. I wouldn't say he's a top 10 quarterback. But can you make the case that he's close to that? 11, 12? Possibly. And that's how the Raiders, again, the contract, the way it lines up, he is 17th in the league. So for the people say, oh, he's a mid quarterback. Well, yeah, they paid him mid money.
Right. So shut up.
So it makes sense. The Raiders didn't overpay. What is the theme of this offseason been for the Raiders, Scott? Don't overpay for any player. Take care of Max Crosby, who's your best player. Take care of the quarterback position at a manageable, affordable price. Fill your needs with some guys who aren't headliners. But we're going to get into this later, Scott. Pete Carroll, and he kind of alluded to it there. They want guys who are going to come in with a chip on their shoulder. I know it's a cliche. You hear that so many times. But the Devin Whites, the Alex Kappas, who are coming off down years and have something to prove and aren't 35 years old yet with 10 years of wear and tear, those guys are going to come into camp with a chip on their shoulder. Geno Smith, even though he's been a starter for 3 years, there are people, and I see them in Raider Nation, still doubting Geno Smith. You don't think he hears that? He is Mr. They wrote me off and I didn't write back. Remember that Monday Night Football game interview, Scott, that post-game interview?
Oh, yeah.
And that went viral?
Yes, sir.
He still has that mentality, even though he's been a starter for 3 consecutive years, and he's going to bring that to Las Vegas.
And again, different players, different styles, every personalities, everything. But it reminds me so much of Gannon, because if even Gannon speaking today talks about how he always, even when he got to the Raiders and he had success, and even after his MVP season, and of course it ended in disaster in the Super Bowl, but he talked about that he never lost that chip. And even as a broadcaster now, he still has that chip based on that experience. So to me, that's it. And I got to say to people out there, I know not everybody's going to agree with us on this, Mo. It's just the way it is. But life is not Instagram, folks. The sexiest thing you see when you're flipping through your phone isn't what's going to make you a winner. So I understand some people saying, well, oh yeah, so this person's going to get Cam Ward, and last year they got this person and that quarterback, and ooh, the sexiness of the young player. And look, the Raiders still need a young quarterback, Mo. We've been consistent about that for a long time. But life doesn't always go out that way. You don't always get the quick fix and the instant gratification that you want. So I would say, if you're looking at this Geno Smith situation, you really need to think about, okay, where can this guy get us? Look, it's been 23 years since a quarterback in a Raider uniform has had consecutive winning seasons. 23. To your point earlier, if Geno Smith puts up 3 years of a winning record in Vegas, no matter what happens with playoffs and all that kind of stuff, how can you not like that? How can you not be excited about that with everything that Raider Nation has been through? So there you go. Now I want to play one more clip on Geno Smith, and this is from John Spytek. With our good buddy Eddie over at the Raiders did this show, so shout out to them for the video. But here he is talking about Geno Smith. Some great stuff I want to unpack here too with you, Mo. Here we go.
Well, really, at the opening press conference, I feel like Coach and I kind of hammered home we were going to leave no stone, no rock unturned at really any position, but critically the quarterback position. And so, we were trying to be involved in any possible player movement that there was out there at the quarterback position. And obviously there's a familiarity with Coach and with Geno from Seattle, and really Geno played his best football for Coach there. And when you've watched Geno through the years, he can throw the football with the best of any of them, honestly. I mean, you watch some of the throws he makes over and over again, downfield, short, intermediate. The touch is there, the arm strength is there. And, when you have Coach Carroll in your camp and he can swear by the player, the competitor, the worker, the leader, that's a front row seat, or that's information that, if I was still with the Bucs, for instance, we wouldn't have. And, so as we got into it and we evaluated the options in free agency, the other players that maybe were available via trade, ultimately we arrived at a spot where we thought adding Geno made a lot of sense for us. It upgraded the position, in our opinion. The compensation from a draft capital standpoint wasn't so costly. I mean, I love my picks more than anybody, and I got to remind Coach Carroll how much I love picks. But listen, we used the late third round pick to hopefully have our starting quarterback here for years to come, and it was just too good of an opportunity to pass up. So super excited that Geno's here, and can't wait to see what he can give.
There you go. And Mo, I got to say this, man. I'm loving Spytek. Like the measured approach, even when he's talking, like if you go back to a couple of the regimes, you go back to Ziegler, you go back to even last year, you see these guys with Telesco, they would give you the lip service and they talk to you. And I would say this to you back channel all the time. They keep talking, but they're not saying anything. Now, you don't expect the team and a GM to give you their blueprint, right? Because it's still lying season. Again, look at his comments on Gentry if you want to look at that too. But nonetheless, the thing I love about this is Spytek at least is giving fans and us in the media the opportunity to hear what his thought process is. And it's been so consistent in this amount of time. So he talked about that they went out with a measured approach. And look, maybe they went after Darnold. We know that. They went after Stafford. We know that. It didn't work out. And they said, hey, they sat back and said, you know what? We can get Geno Smith. We can sign him to an extension because that's what he wants. And that's going to improve our football team. And then we're going to go out and we're going to look at how else we improve our team. Man, it's so refreshing.
It's refreshing. And what stood out to me is that he admits that he likes his picks more.
That's what I was going to talk to you about next.
So I've been hammering this point. He's a draft and develop type of GM. Where he wants to build this team through the draft. I say this over and over again. He talked endlessly about how the Buccaneers, I believe like 80% of their roster or more of it were guys that they drafted or signed as undrafted free agents when he was in Tampa Bay. And I think it's clear that he's going to try to bring that blueprint over to Las Vegas, where they lost some of their own guys this offseason. Robert Spillane, Trayvon Merrick, Marcus Evans. They let some guys go because they weren't willing to pay over the bar for those guys. Trayvon Merrick, again, is paid as a top 5 safety. I like Trayvon Merrick, but not as a top 5 safety. So they have a certain price that they're willing to they're not going to budge off of, apparently. But they're going to try to keep some of their talents and develop them. Isaiah Pola-Mao is probably the best example of this. Isaiah Pola-Mao was an undrafted free agent, right? Rotational role. Got a little bit of a bigger role last season when Marcus Epps went down. They see something in him. They see the potential in him to be something more. And he's going to contend for a starting spot. Now, I expect the Raiders to add a safety in the draft, but Isaiah Pola-Mao is going to have a chance to earn his spot, so to speak, and earn his snaps. And I think that goes into the ethos of what Spytek wants to see. Some of the homegrown guys step up and earn their spots, and it goes back to what Pete Carroll said. Guys who may have a chip on his shoulder to prove something. Isaiah Pola-Mao to prove he's a starter. So there's a lot of that going on. And with Spytek's interviews, you get some of his personality. Tom Telesco is more of a button up, as you said, kind of like, say a lot, don't say much. Right, corporate speak. Dave Ziegler, the same thing. I'm not saying Spytek is giving away everything here.
No.
But he's letting you know up front that he likes his draft picks, and it's going to take a lot for him to give up his draft picks unless he feels it's absolutely worth it to bring in that player. And Geno Smith fit that category.
Right. And weeks ago, you said this weeks and weeks ago, as we were talking about Spytek when he came on board, what his history was, right? Because can people change? Do they make different decisions based in different situations? Absolutely, Mo, right? But it helps to look at what Tampa Bay did. And by the way, you look at the teams that are consistent winners in this league now, they build. You can't just go out and buy people all the time. It doesn't work. You've seen the Raiders do it and fail. They weren't able, as good as Gruden brought the team along from a football perspective at certain times, they couldn't nail the draft picks. They wasted so many of those. We're not here to beat that dead horse, but it just goes to show you that if you want to do it. So seeing the Raiders, you might not get instant gratification from that, right? Because you're like, well, you want me to get excited about a 4th-round draft pick? Well, who knows? That person could be a long-term starter in this league. And to Lesko's credit, last year, they made some good picks last year, and they contributed heavily. Jackson Powers-Johnson, of course, Brock Bowers is there. But look at the Raiders' defense and some of the people they able to bring back. And you talked about Palomar. These guys have been developed in the system. And imagine if you multiply that, what happens. So, yes, I don't think a lot of you who want them to trade back from 6, I don't think it happens. Unless all the playmakers that they focus on are not there, which I don't think will happen. I think there's going to be a playmaker at 6. I'm still in the Gentry camp, but I would say that wherever that is, whether it's Shedeur Sanders, him, or whether it's Mason Graham, whoever, if they're there, I just guarantee you, Mo. I just think Spytek's going to take that number 6 pick because in his mind, he's never going to be that high again unless he's going to trade up in the future, I think, because he thinks he's going to believe this team will get better. So there's that. Now, why you say, okay, the Geno Smith deal, we talked a lot about that, but does that prohibit the Raiders from going out and getting a quarterback, even in the 1st round? The answer is no. And a reporter at the Gaggle, at the meetings, asked Pete Carroll. So this is the last clip I'm going to give you, and then we'll talk about it, go to our break, and come back with your phone calls. Here is Pete Carroll being asked about, does it change their draft plan now that they got Geno signed to this new extension?
How does getting Geno Smith change the draft approach? Do you see, is there still a possibility of taking a quarterback as high as the 1st round?
Yeah, we've got to build them, always. So taking Geno is an immediate fix for us. It's going to last us. We're going to get a number of years from Geno at his very best. He's healthy and ready to go. He's as tuned in as he's ever been. But that doesn't mean that we don't see there's some guys coming out that have got tremendous potential. And we'll just take a look at each spot and the opportunity that's presented and the choices that we have. But we're not excluding taking any position.
There you go. Pete Carroll there on that. And Mo, look, we've been saying the same thing. I'm not trying to just pat ourselves on the back. A lot of other people are saying the same thing, which is you go get quarterbacks whenever you can. Just because you sign Geno Smith and he's going to be the starter unless something happens the next 3 years, guess what? If Shedeur Sanders is there and you really like him, you take him. If somehow Cam Ward drops down, which I doubt, you take him. If somebody's there in the 2nd round you love, you take them. So for all of you absolutists out there, and I know you're out there because I see you posting about this all the time. Well, no, there goes getting a young quarterback. Bull crap. It's not true. And Pete Carroll said it right there, Mo.
Right. So that was I actually took that quote directly from The Athletic because Tashawn Reed did a good job of putting that out there. And right after the Geno Smith extension came through, I posted that quote on Twitter, and people, did what they want with the quote. But it was to show people that just because they signed Geno Smith to an extension doesn't mean that if Shedeur Sanders is there, they're going to pass on him. Now, they could pass on him, but what the Geno Smith deal does, it just takes down the pressure to have to take a quarterback at 6. So let's say there's a discussion in the draft war room where, there's a camp that says draft Ashton Gentry because he can help us right away and help Geno Smith. And then there's a camp that says draft Shedeur Sanders because he can be our quarterback of the future. So we have that position solidified, potentially for a decade plus. Look at what the Atlanta Falcons did last year. Now, with Geno Smith having that extension, the camp that wants Ashton Gentry may have a little more leverage in saying, well, if we want to help Geno Smith, we want to win games this year, get the player who can help us in 2025, not the player who may have to wait his turn until 2027. So that's what that extension does, because we knew this extension was coming. Geno Smith was not going to play another down of football without any more guaranteed money, because in his last year of his deal with Seattle, $0 guaranteed dollars for 2025. So in some way or another, he was going to get a new deal. Now it's a matter of, okay, he's our short-term guy. Do we take a quarterback if, let's say, one of the top guys are there? Or do we take, an Ashton Gentry who can help us right away? That's going to be up to the guys who have to make the tough decisions. I wrote a piece, Scott, saying that it would be a tough decision because you look at what the Falcons did. I'm not saying that Geno Smith is like Kirk Cousins, because Kirk Cousins is coming off a torn Achilles. But you look at what the Falcons did, people lambasted them, including us, and it worked out for them. It turned out to be the right decision to take Michael Penix, even though they gave Kirk Cousins big money. But again, if you're looking at it from how do we help Geno so we can win games now? Remember what Pete Carroll said at his press conference, we're trying to win now. And if you take that mentality and say, if you're trying to win now, then you go get a player who can help you win now. And that's not Shedeur Sanders because you had Geno Smith there helping.
Right. And a lot of people that know a lot more about football than me hated the Falcons pick, right? But I'll tell you what, it goes back to what we keep saying here, and I just believe it more and more and more. And the critics be damned. If you get a quarterback, you get a quarterback, and you keep taking them because to your point, and it's a great point, Mo, is that you just don't know what's going to happen. And we obviously wish Geno great success with the Raiders. But again, never happen. You never know what happens. Injuries, all kinds of crazy things can happen. So there you go. All right. That's going to conclude the first segment here of our special Friday edition of Silver and Black Today. When we come back, we're going to get to some of your phone calls on Silver and Black Today and Odyssey Sports Original Podcast. By the way, if you want to call in for next week, 702-900-7869, 702-900-7869. Tell us what you think of Geno Smith. Want to hear your kind of background on that and what else you're concerned with or have any comments, questions for on the Raiders. What did we say on the last show that's wrong? We got a caller today that corrects me on something, which I can't believe I missed, but we're going to play it because I was wrong. And it hurts me because I love my knowledge of geography and history, if that's a clue. So we'll get to that here in a second. You're with Mo and Scott. This is Silver and Black Today. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back. It is time for the home stretch here on Silver and Black Today. Happy Friday. That's when we're talking to you. Hope you have a great weekend. A lot of sports going on, I think, although this time of the year, baseball started now. A lot of stuff going on. For me, I'm a big F1 fan. We got the Japanese Grand Prix on Sunday. Way too early in the morning for me, so I'll watch it when I wake up. But we hope you guys go out there, have a good weekend. Bad weather where I'm at. Mo, I know you're getting some too. But go out and have a good time. Do us a favor, too. Don't forget, subscribe to the podcast wherever you get your audio. Also, if you're watching us on YouTube, Rumble, X, wherever you're watching us, make sure you subscribe, hit the notifications bell so you know when we have a new video. Mo, what you got this sports weekend. I know you're into that comedy they call the NBA because your team's pretty good. But did you see this Caitlin Clark thing, by the way? Caitlin Clark's rookie card, one of her rookie cards, sold for the most ever, the most a female sports card has ever sold for. It was $368,000 for the card, which is $2,000 more than Caitlin Clark's WNBA contract, which is really funny. But anyway, so I know they're getting geared up to go into the WNBA season coming up, but really interesting time in the world of sports with college and NIL and all this other jazz happening out there. Your Johnny's got knocked out. I just celebrated. It's been so long. I'm so old. 35 years ago, UNLV yesterday won the national championship, beating Duke 103-73. Still the largest margin of victory in a national championship basketball game. Thank you. Got to hold on to what you can hold on to. So a lot of stuff happening this weekend. The women's Final Four is coming up. So hope you have a great sports weekend. But we're going to get to your call. Mo, you got anything planned, or are you guys going to be like us with the weather? It's going to be bad, so you can't really do anything fun outside.
It's yucky weather in New York City. It's that warm, humid weather. Like you get 75 degrees, but it's going to rain all day.
Yes.
But as you know, April showers bring May flowers, so this is what's expected. And my birthday month, by the way.
Yes.
So I got to soak it in and enjoy it. But this weekend I'm just gonna, as normally as I do, just enjoy sports because April, and I'm not just saying this because it's my birthday month, but April is an underrated sports month. I think I mentioned this last week. You talk about the Final Fours, men's and women's. You got baseball starting up.
Yeah.
NBA playoffs are gonna get underway in a couple of weeks. I know that makes you cringe a little bit, but the Knicks are still good. They're not a title contending team.
The great thing about the NBA playoffs is actually I will watch playoff games because the players actually play.
Yeah.
And they play hard.
And it matters more. And then obviously at the end of the month we have the NFL draft. So there's a lot going on in April.
It's the draft month.
How can you not like the sports month?
Yeah, well, and we're going to have a bunch of guests coming up, talk about the draft, looking at some positions and all that stuff. So stay tuned for that. That's coming very quickly here. But now we're going to get into a favorite part of the show we love to do, which is to hear from you, to hear from the listeners, the viewers out there, people in Raider Nation, to give us their opinions about what's happening in Raider Nation. I'm sure we'll get a bunch of these as we move up And we're going to, I don't know, I'm thinking about we should start maybe, no pressure on the callers out there, but I think we should start maybe rating the callers. Like, is that a 3-star call? Is that a 5-star call? And then we'll have maybe a caller, like all-star lineup sometimes. We get some good stuff here, but I'm just thinking through things. But if you got any ideas.
I'll say this all the time. Dominique, automatic 5 stars. Right on the top of my head, Dominique, 5 stars. Michelle, who we haven't heard from in quite a while, 5 stars. If we could get Gangster Raider back on, 5 stars.
He's always 5 stars.
Yeah. So some of the usual guys, MDM, you know who the usual suspects are.
Yeah, and the show obviously during the off season is a little less consistent as far as the days go sometimes because of our schedules. But so I think some of the callers kind of lay off, or there's just not a lot of news going on. Now the Geno Smith thing, I think we'll have a bunch of calls next week, but we have some this week too. So let's go out to our good buddy Dave Casper the Ghost.
Another 5-star caller.
Yes, he is. Here he is.
Hey guys, this is Dave Casper the Ghost from the Hudson Valley of upstate New York. It's been a few weeks, more because it's been sort of quiet, in my opinion. But I figure I'd call in and give my 2 cents about what's been going on so far. Overall, objectively, I think SpyTech has been handling the free agency well enough. There weren't a lot of free agents that were worthy of throwing a lot of money at. So they did a lot of under-the-radar signings. None of them I'm overly excited about as a fan, but, Devin White should have been drafted instead of Carroll, but that's a subject for another day. But he signed to a 1-year deal. We'll see how that goes. The safety chin from Washington, they needed that. That was a good sign, honestly, after Morey left. But overall, I understand objectively as a fan what they're trying to do, but I'm not excited by any of the moves. Obviously they have upgraded in the quarterback room. Am I excited with Geno Smith? No. Is he better than what they had? Yes. So going forward, unless they hit it out of the park in the draft, Vegas has them at 6.5 wins. So they have a 4th place schedule. And unless they do something crazy, like via a trade or something, and if this is what they're going to roll with, they still have a lot of holes on the team overall. I could see them as a 7-8 win team. Is that an improvement? Yes. It's doubled their wins from last year. Would I have liked to see them get into that wild card push? I guess it could happen, but I don't see it. But let's see how the draft goes. But overall, the thing I'm most excited about with this team is the coaching staff and the new general manager. Carroll, Chip Kelly, I'm really excited about. And let's see what they do in the draft. But, overall, again, objectively, I understand what they're doing. Subjectively, I'd like to see them do something a little sexy and crazy that would get us all us fans excited. But I'm not overly excited. I'm cautiously optimistic, and we'll see where it goes. All right, guys. Talk to you later.
There's Dave Casper, the Ghost. And Mo, this goes back to what I was talking about earlier in the show. And Dave, we love you, but I'm going to be a little critical of you here. Again, the word sexy. Remember last year when the whole Antonio Pierce thing happened? Ooh, sexy. He's the guy. Ooh, ah. Everybody was, woo, we feel good about being Raider Nation again. And what happened? You felt sexy and the results stunk. Okay. So to me, I look at this situation and I said it earlier about Geno Smith. I get it. He's not Cam Ward. Like this is going to be our guy for the next 15 years. I get that. But here's a guy who had you have not had a quarterback with 3 consecutive winning seasons in 23 years. Okay. So I'm not saying you should be, and I think he's right. Cautiously optimistic is the right approach to it here. But what you should be, and he focused on this too, you should be excited about, Mo, is the fact that the Raiders aren't reaching. SpyTech is being smart, under the radar signings, as he called them, right? Nothing spectacular. Well, if there's nothing spectacular out there, why would you? And number 2, spectacular doesn't always transform you. And a lot of times getting to work back and forth, driving a Honda Accord is going to be a lot better than sitting there and busting your budget to go out and buy that brand new Mercedes.
So I'm not gonna lie to you, Scott. I understand where Dave Kaspergos is coming from. Like,
of course,
would I have seen a different running back sign over Raheem Mostert? Absolutely. Would I have taken, Elijah Moore, who's still available, by the way? Absolutely. There are some guys out there still that I would sign, Kaiser White being one of them. Raiders have not gone in a direction. So I understand you want a better player for some of these signings. And I think Dominique expressed that opinion last week when we had him, that could have signed this guy instead of that guy. And I said, well, we don't know if that guy was interested. Just putting that out there. The other thing I want to get to was Dave Kaspergos' win-loss total for the Raiders. I think he said it was at 6.5 wins. There's something that stood out to me that I don't think is getting enough discussion, and is what Pete Carroll, John Spytek talked about this upcoming season. They said, and this is coming from The Athletic, they said they want to be competitive this season, but they expect a bigger leap in year 2.
Right.
And I did a Bleacher Report live on, I believe it was Tuesday, and I kind of tempered expectations a bit. For the people out there expecting an 11-12 win season, it could happen. I'm not saying it's impossible, but understand that the regime is looking at this from a let's build, not gradually, but let's build on year 1 and year 2. We'll take a big leap in year 2. Not that they're punting on year 1. They said they want to be competitive in year 1. But I'm not expecting a double-digit win season in year 1. Do I want a double-digit season? Absolutely, because I think it's possible with a significant upgrade at quarterback and a significant upgrade to the coach staff, as Dave Kaspergos pointed out. But just keep in mind that this regime is looking at it as we're trying to build something in year 1, and then we're going to try to take a bigger leap in year 2. So you'll get a lot of the sexier names in free agency, and maybe some things that'll make Raider Nation go crazy as far as roster building is concerned, probably next offseason. But it's very clear that they're just trying to feel things out in year 1 with a new offensive coaching staff, with Pete Carroll coming in, with John Spytek being a first-time general manager.
Right. And you don't go out and spend a big splash on a wide receiver or somebody like that when you don't have everything lined up and you don't know exactly what you have. I think you're absolutely right about the running back position. They could have done better there. All the more reason to draft number 2 at number 6, if you get my drift. So we'll see what happens there. But great call as always. Appreciate that, Dave Kaspergos. All right, now we're going out to JP Holmes. I think a new caller here.
My question is, my name is JP Holmes. Are the Raiders worried about the Broncos are sitting back and stealing their running back? Thank you.
There we go. So I'm assuming by that call, Mo, that he's talking about stealing their running back, if that's Gentry, and the Broncos trying to maybe somehow get ahead of the Raiders. I think it'd be hard for them. They certainly could use a running back there, but when you look at the AFC West, and particularly the other teams that and their needs, whether it be the Chargers, the Broncos, of course, the Chiefs are where they at. Do you see any threat there from inside the division to try to maybe move ahead of the Raiders to grab somebody they might be interested in?
No, not from the Broncos. JP Holmes is a good call, because I did a piece on Sportsnet this week, and I talked about trade down spots for the Raiders and teams that may want to trade up. So this goes right into my article. Perfect call. 5-star call, by the way. So Denver Broncos, number 1, why would the Raiders help the Denver Broncos? So I don't see them. Now, maybe he's thinking maybe the Denver Broncos try to trade up over the Raiders.
Yeah.
You don't see teams make that leap for a running back. Even as great as some people think Gentry could be, you just don't see teams make a move up that aggressive for a running back. The last time I remember off the top of my head a team make an aggressive move for a non-quarterback was when the Saints moved up for Marcus Davenport, and I believe 2017 or 18. That was an aggressive move, and it backfired. Didn't work out. Marcus Davenport hasn't been able to stay healthy. He's bounced around the league. But my point is, I don't see a team making a big leap up for running back, especially in a class that's deep at that position. So you don't need to necessarily be that aggressive. The 2 teams, or the one team that I could see making a move up for Gentry and stealing the Raiders' running back, so to speak, the Chicago Bears. Keep in mind, they hired Ben Johnson. Ben Johnson, in his second year in Detroit, what did he do? He completely flipped the running back position. He traded DeAndre Swift to Philadelphia. DeAndre Swift is now with him in Chicago. That's why I said DeAndre Swift could be traded this offseason. And number 2, the Lions drafted Jahmyr Gibbs with the 12th pick, and a lot of people criticized him for that, saying, "Oh, how can you draft the number 2 running back behind Bijan Robinson that high?" And it turns out that it worked out for them. Brad Holmes took the criticism for that. He kept his receipts, by the way, but drafting Jahmyr Gibbs actually worked out for the Lions. So with Ben Johnson being in Chicago, it's possible that he values the running back position a lot more than some of these other teams do. I can see the Bears trying to move up from 10 to get Ashton Gentry behind that revamped offensive line that they have this offseason.
Yeah, it's a great point with the Bears. And there's been some stories floating out about that, about them having the interest to move up, maybe even with their old trade partners, the Carolina Panthers. If Gentry falls past the Raiders, if the Raiders don't take him and he's still there, boy, I would expect a full court press there from Chicago. All right, JP, thanks for the call, man. All right, now we're going out to our buddy Tarek. We haven't heard from him in a couple weeks. Here's Tarek. Oops.
The 5-star caller, by the way.
Yeah, always, of course, all-star. Hall of Fame. Here we go.
What is up, Scott and Mo? This is Tarek checking in with you guys from Philadelphia. Hope you guys have been well. Just catching up on some Raider news with regards to your show last week. I do agree with you, Scott, that I do think it's going to be Ashton Gentry. I think that he makes sense for us at number 6. It doesn't appear that the Raiders are going to even attempt to move up. I think they look like they're more than satisfied having Geno Smith for a couple of years. They're actively working on extending him. Gentry would certainly open up the passing game, and he would obviously be a legit running back, and he would also take a lot of pressure off of Geno Smith, who is a good quarterback. He's not an elite quarterback, but it's definitely an upgrade as far as what we've had at the quarterback position. Also, the signing of Devin White. I mean, this guy at one point was a team captain. He was a second-team All-Pro, and he's also been a Super Bowl champion. So he's only 27 years old. Let's hope he has a bit of a resurgence in Vegas. We haven't had really quality linebackers for quite some time. Let's hope he is an upgrade over Divine Diablo. And let's see what Eichenberg does in year 2. The guy's kind of fallen off the map. I never really heard a lot about him as a rookie. Hunter Renfrow revisited the Raiders. He also went to the Panthers. But it would be very interesting and fascinating to see if we do land Renfrow again. He is 29 years old, but I think he could, in Chip Kelly's offense, he could be a good addition without having to be the primary wide receiver. I am quite surprised that the Raiders have not taken a free agent wide receiver yet, but it does look like that they're going to address it in the draft, and I will expect them to take a free agent wide receiver post-draft as well. And I still think the Raiders are going to take a quarterback in a subsequent round. Let me know what you guys think about some of these, my opinions on some of these things. I hope you guys have a great week, and I'll talk to you guys later. Go Raiders. Bye-bye.
There you go. There's Tarek. Tarek, thanks, man. As always, Mo, I want to start with you and ask you this question. Devin White, he talked a lot about Devin White. What's his ceiling based on what you've seen in the last few years?
Definitely a 2-down linebacker who can stop the run, and he can also get after the quarterback. He had 9.5 sacks in one of his years in Tampa Bay. I believe it was 2020 or 2021. He can be decent in pass coverage. He's not awful. I saw a lot of people say he's bad in pass coverage. It's not that he's awful. It's just that you don't want him targeted too much. Because if you look at the last 2 years, if you look at his passer rating allowed, it's actually pretty good. He's had some down years in pass coverage when he was targeted a lot more, but you want his frequency in coverage to be lower, because the more he's exposed in coverage, the more he gets picked apart. But I think he can come back to being close to a Pro Bowl player, as Tarek said, and I talked about this on my Bleacher Report Live. He's 27 years old. This is a guy who's played at a Pro Bowl level and was part of a pretty good defense on a Super Bowl team, if you remember.
Yep.
And playing at a high level as a team captain. Now, he lost his job to KJ Britt, didn't handle that well at all. But you're hoping that he comes in, and I talked about in the first segment, with a chip on his shoulder saying, look, I am 27 years old. I'm not 37 years old. There is time for him to turn this back around and get back to close to a Pro Bowl level linebacker. And he's going to have a shot to do that because the Raiders lost both their top linebackers this offseason, Spillane in New England, Divine Diablo in Atlanta. Now you bring in Devin White and Landon Roberts competing for jobs. We'll see what Tommy Eichenberg does, but he's young. But Devin White has a shot, and they gave him a contract, Scott, with no guaranteed money. So this is a guy who has a lot to prove and has a lot to play for, because he's going to be back on the market next offseason at 28. You would believe that he's motivated to get a bigger contract and play well in Las Vegas.
Not only that, but I think that Pete Carroll is the perfect coach for him at the point he's at in his career. Pete Carroll's culture and what he builds. And if I go back and watch that ESPN story about him and Geno Smith and how he helped Geno resurrect his career and the positivity that comes with Pete Carroll. Man, I think that's just a really good fit there. So we'll see. Now, the Hunter Renfrow, Raider Nation likes nothing more than to want to bring back every single player that ever played in the uniform. So Hunter Renfrow comes in for a visit. There's not a market for Hunter. I love Hunter Renfrow, great guy. Obviously was part of this show for a season as well. Love the guy. A lot of injuries racked up. And of course the use was terrible under Josh McDaniels. That's not his fault, but not a big market. So I think Hunter Renfrow ends up coming to Raiders camp. And if he makes the team, it's going to be in a very obviously team-friendly contract because he doesn't have a market out there that's going to drive the price up. Any downsides to bringing him in?
No downsides to bringing him in, but I will say, though, I still see Tyler Lockett being the pick for the Raiders because he has that connection with Geno Smith already. Mm-hmm. And I also point this out in The Athletic. Vic Tafur wrote this, that the Raiders will sign a veteran wide receiver soon. He didn't say might sign. He didn't say could sign. He said they will sign a veteran wide receiver soon. So I expect that. I would prefer Keenan Allen because I think Keenan Allen still has a lot left. Again, led the Bears in touchdown receptions last year with a bad offense. Yeah. But I think it's going to be Tyler Lockett, and I would be fine with that. If it is Hunter Renfrow, who visited last week or 2 weeks ago, a week and a half ago, I'd be fine with that too because, as you said, he's not going to get a big deal. He was out of football all year last year, didn't play it down, had some injuries. So he's coming in on a team-friendly deal. But we did see when Hunter Renfrow was targeted on those crucial third downs, what he can do. Third and Renfrow was a real thing. I still had the T-shirt, so I can dust off that T-shirt and put it back on for the show if the Raiders do sign Hunter Renfrow.
Yeah, so much fun watching Renfrow run routes. I mean, just phenomenal, right? So maybe we'll see that again. All right, Tarek, thanks for the call. Last call of the day is Tony down in San Diego. Here he is.
Yeah, that's Tony from Denver, retired Navy guy, lived in San Diego. So I've been with the enemy pretty much my whole life, with Denver and San Diego, until they moved. I just want to know the Geno Smith thing. To me, that's an awesome acquire. Anyway, what does Mo think?
There you go. There's Tony in San Diego. By the way, thanks for your service, my man. Appreciate that. And sorry you've had to live in all enemy territory of your team. But Mo, he asked you a question there directly about the Geno Smith thing, and we talked a lot about it all throughout the show. But for Tony to answer his question, I'm just glad, Tony, thank you that you're excited about it. There should be more people excited about it. Mo, give me your take for Tony.
This is a good question because I did a whole Bleacher Report live on expectations for Geno Smith. And not just because I'm the host of the show, but a lot of my viewers agree with me on this one. These are my expectations for Geno Smith. 4,200 yards, 28 touchdown passes, 14 interceptions, about 250 yards rushing. So a lot of my viewers, were in the same ballpark as those numbers. If you look at his numbers in Seattle, 4,200 yards isn't hard for Geno Smith. I know he had DK Metcalf and Jackson Smith-Njigba, Tyler Lockett there. He's going to have Brock Bowers and Jacoby Myers. And as I said, the Raiders are going to sign a veteran wide receiver that's coming from Vic Tafur of The Athletic. So he's going to have some playmakers. And he's going to have, in my opinion, a better play call than he had in Seattle. Remember, last year, Geno Smith's numbers were down, but he was playing under a first-time play caller on the pro level. Ryan Grubb was in Washington before Seattle. But remember, Seattle they fired Ryan Grubb after one season. So he's now getting an experienced play caller in Chip Kelly, and an all-pro rookie now going into the second year, tight end in Brock Bowers, Jacoby Myers, who's been more than solid. Again, they're going to sign a veteran wide receiver. We'll see who that is. I think it's going to be Tyler Lockett. I would choose Keenan Allen. But if it is Hunter Renfrow, I'm sure he can work it out with Hunter Renfrow as well. The running backs that they get, I'm sure one or both of them will be able to catch out of the backfield. He's going to have a solid supporting cast. So that's why I think he's going to go over 4,000 yards passing, which isn't all that tough if you average about 250 yards a game. And I gave him 28 touchdowns and not over 30 because he does have to get used to new teammates, new system, new offense, new surroundings. You give him some grace period there to ramp up. And Geno Smith, as we said in the first segment, while we like Geno Smith, and he is a massive upgrade of what the Raiders have had, he is going to make mistakes, Raider Nation. He is going to have games where he's going to have maybe 2 or 3 interceptions in a game. You're thinking, what do we pay this guy for? That's part of the deal. He takes shots downfield, and I say this all the time, not all interceptions are the same. You don't want the interceptions in the red zone. If they're going to throw some interceptions, you want to be those before halftime heaves, those late desperation heaves on 4th down. You don't want interceptions on the opponent's side of the field. As long as he can limit those and continue to be accurate and efficient as he has been, looking at that touchdown to interception ratio, 28 touchdown passes, 14 interceptions was my prediction. That's a 2-to-1 touchdown ratio. That's pretty good. Yeah. I'll take it, especially if he's completing, 69, 70% of his passes, which he's done it in Seattle. I think those numbers are very realistic, and it can get Raiders several wins. Dave Kasperagos at the beginning of this call segment said, 7-8 wins. If things fall the right way, as 1 or 2 wins you don't expect to happen could happen. All of a sudden, the Raiders are in the playoff discussion. Who knows? But if Geno Smith plays well, it bodes well for the Raiders.
Yeah, absolutely. Good stuff. Tony in San Diego, call in again, man. I know that was your first call. Appreciate you doing it. Also, my apologies to Raider Rube. We had a call from him. The file is just, for some reason, not running. But Raider Rube called in. We'll get to your question. But he also corrected me because we talked about he's from North Dakota, and I said that Mount Rushmore, which is clearly in South Dakota. So I misspoke. He corrected me on that. So I appreciate that, Raider Rube. And we will get your call on. If you want to update your call, get it. I'll make sure we put you at the front of the line. So I pride myself on my geography, Mo, because I'm old enough that we still learn geography when I was in school. Nowadays, you kids out there, you don't learn about geography. So anyway, my apologies to the people of North Dakota and of South Dakota. So there you go. But thank you very much. I mean, hey, Mo, when I'm wrong, right? I don't mind being corrected and admitting it. So and that one you can't obviously argue with.
Raider Rube, also 5-star caller.
Absolutely. Always, man.
Who challenged us last week, if I remember, to be more
controversial.
And animated, I'll say that.
Animated, right.
On our show. So respect to Raider Rube.
That's right. There you go. Well, we'll see. We'll see how, if he feels this show is a little more animated. But, sometimes when you're in the business, so to speak, Mo and I both, with our other roles, we're creating a lot of content every week. And it is hard. I mean, even the greatest radio hosts, TV hosts, some of their shows just don't have that little extra oomph sometimes. And that happens to us too. It's hard. I get it. Get upbeat. But hopefully this one, it's Friday. So I'm excited that it's Friday. It was a long week. I know it was for you too, Mo, with all the work going on. So good stuff, but we certainly appreciate it. Mo, let everybody know again about the Bleacher Report Live schedule, all that stuff, and what you got coming up so they can keep track of you.
I'll be back on Bleacher Report Live on Monday, 9 p.m. Eastern Time, 6 p.m. Pacific. We'll talk an array of topics. I'll probably do a 3-round mock draft. We'll start mock draft Monday for the month of April. April 1st was a Tuesday, so we'll start mock draft Monday, starting on Monday,
nice.
The 7th. And then, as usual, I'll have a Sports Not topical article up on, usually pops up on Wednesday, and then be back here with you on Wednesday or Thursday, depending on what my schedule looks like. Because as you know, Scott, Back Channel Talk, I have a lot going on this side of town. But be back with you in the middle of the week to talk Raider football. And if they make any moves, of course, we'll cover it. We'll talk about it. We'll break it down. We'll talk to you about it over here on Silver and Black today.
Absolutely. And make sure you guys subscribe wherever you get your audio. Keep up with us here. In addition to keeping up with Mo and Bleacher Report, you can also follow us on the video side, right? Follow us on the video. We're not doing as many feature shorts or any of that kind of stuff now in the off season, but the show is there. I got some other videos ready to go that I've been working on that I'll put up there as well. So do that. We'll have some great guests coming up to talk about the NFL draft. Follow us on X or Instagram, wherever you like to follow us, TikTok, and you'll see there in advance when we have big guests coming up. So do that as well. But also do us a favor when you do, rate and review the show. We certainly appreciate the feedback, and that helps us as well. So thank you for that. Mo, my friend, we will talk to you next week.
Take care, Scott. Take care, Raider Nation.
All right. For our producer, Mike Robbie, for Mo Moten, I'm Scott Branson. This has been Silver and Black Today. Raider Nation, have a great weekend, and we will talk to you next week here right on the show. We certainly appreciate you being with us. Be good to one another. See you then.